Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the place where you learn new skill every time you visit. So keep updating yourself by subscribing to the channel.
Today, we are going to discuss function overloading in Java. Now, function overloading is a concept when we have more than one function by the same name. It is one of the examples of the polymorphism in Java. Polymorphism means existing in more than one form. So here, if we see the function name is same, so that means same thing is existing in more than one form with different parameters. Now, how does the function overloading happens, or in what ways the function overloading is possible? There are three ways in which we can make the function overloading possible. The first way is by differing in number of parameters. So if you look over here, the difference in the parameter, number of parameters. So we have a function sum which has two integer parameter. There's another function by the same name but three integer parameters. So here also function overloading is possible, right? The second way in which function overloading can be possible is by data types of the parameter. So if we look over here, both this function sum has two parameters, so the number of parameters are same, but one has both integer and another has one integer and one float. So in this case, we are differing in data type of the parameter. So this is the second way in which function overloading is possible, right? Now the third way in which function overloading can be possible is by differing in sequence of parameter. So here again we have sum and sum two functions, and both has two parameters and the number of parameters are same, but the first one has int and the float, right? If you observe here, int and the float, and the second one has float and the sum. So the order of parameters are changing, order of different types of and different data types of the parameter are changing. So this is the third way in which function overloading is possible. Okay, so now it is also one of the form of polymorphism. As I told you, we call it a static polymorphism. So static polymorphism is also called a compile time or binding time or early binding. So there are different technical terms which we use for static polymorphism. It's called compile time binding or early binding. These are the different names for static polymorphism. Now static binding happens at compile time. When you compile a program, then this compile time static binding happens, because when you compile the program, then only the function call is done, then only the compiler goes and looks for which function to go for. Suppose you have called sum with two integer values, passing two integer values, and another time you have called the sum again passing one integer value. So accordingly it looks for that particular function sum, definition of that particular function sum, and then as per the parameter, number of parameters or different types of parameters, I'm sorry, it goes to the definition of that function. So what I mean to say is this static binding or function overloading happens at the compile time. All right. Now examples of overloading: different number of parameters. When we talked about different number of parameters, so this is one of the example of overloading, where we have a function area which has one parameter or radius, which is calculating the area of the radius circle and returning it. Then we have another function by the same name area, but here the parameters are changing. So we have two parameters, both are double, which are length and breadth. We are calculating the area into the answer and returning it. So this is the example of different number of parameters when the parameter count is differing. Then is different data types of the parameters. So in this example where we are overloading a function calculate, we have different data types of parameter. We have two parameter, one is double, one is integer, and then in the another version of the calculate we have both integer. So the data type of the parameters are different. In the first one we are calculating the power of base to the power given. In the second one we are just multiplying both of them and returning the answer. Now third category of function overloading, or third example of function overloading, is sequence of data types of the parameter. So here we see that we have two functions by the name sol, and the first one has integer and a double, as sequence of parameters. The second function sol has a double and an integer as sequence of parameters. So here the sequence changes, right? Where the first one is just adding up those two values, parameters, and the second sol is just subtracting them. So this is the examples of function overloading, and in three ways the function overloading can happen. All right. So I hope you would have understood this. So let's understand this in a better way practically. So I'm going to go to BlueJ and try to compile the same three examples which I have just shown you.
So here we are in BlueJ and I have already typed
Those six examples or six functions in three examples which I have shown you in the previous slides. So we'll test uh, category wise. Like first we'll test the area, right? The area one which is differing in number of parameters. So one has one parameter, one has two parameter. So we'll just go down below and create a function, main function, which I have already done, and created an object of the class overloading here, and then we have to call those functions. So since the first function, uh, whose name is area, is calculating area of a circle, and second one is calculating area of a rectangle, as we can see by the formula. So I'll write here area of circle, and in front of it I'll call that area and pass a decimal value to it. All right. So next one is area of rectangle, and I'll pass a I'll call the function, of course, and pass two decimal values. All right, for length and breadth. So we can also take this values into two variables and then pass it. That's also perfectly all right. But we can directly put the values also. All right. Let me see when I compile what happens. So when I compile, it says non-static. Okay. So I just remove this static word from here. Okay. So it compiles without error. Now I'll run it. So I'll go to the BlueJ screen and the function overloading. Yeah, here it is. I'll run it. Create an object and I'll call the main. There are a lot of functions which I've already typed. So when I call the main, sorry. So it gives me the circle area, the circle's area with that parameter which I passed with that radius and the rectangle area. So the first part works perfectly all right. Okay. Now I'll go back to the, I'll just clear the screen first before going up there. So I'll go to the coding part again, and now I will call the second two functions or three function, whatever we have. I'll call the calculate ones now. The calculate one is differing in, if you see, they are differing in data type of the parameter. Here it is double and int, and here it is int and int. So both of them needs, first one needs one double and one integer parameter, second one needs one integer and both integer parameters actually. So I'll call them down. I'll go to the main and I'll just copy paste this statements since they are now different, not the area and all those. So I can call this calculate, and I was passing calculate, and the first one was having a double value, double parameter, and an integer parameter. I passed it, and second one I think has both the integer parameter. So this is the second one I'm calling second calculate, where I will pass two integer parameter 2 and 5. Okay. So I'll run it now and I'll see the output. I'll run this overloading from class and I'll go to the main and run it. So now it will ask for it won't ask for, because it's not, we are not taking any input from the user, it's just giving me the output. So this is the output of the first one, where I passed two parameters. One is 3.2 and 5 over here, and in another one I passed 2 and 5, so I got this result. All right, so this is the second way in which we can make overloading happens, where we are changing the data types of the parameters. Now the last one, the third one, is by changing in order of the parameters. So here I would be calling the function sol, and first I would be sending an integer and a double, and then I'll send the double and the integer. All right, the first one would be adding them as per the calculation, and second one would be giving the difference. So I'll just pick this and paste it, and then I'll, now since this is a sol function, so I would give the name sol, and I'll pass. First one was, let me check it again, integer and double. So one is integer, and I'll say 5.5. And when I call it second time, it will be double and integer. So I'll just pass two values. The first one is double, second one is integer. So I'll pass 2.5 and 5. Okay, let me run and check it. So here I run it. Here it goes. Object created, running the main part, and now I'll observe the output screen of this. It will give you that sum is 7.5 and difference into minus 2.5, right? So that clears the function overloading. Function overloading is nothing new. It's just a concept where you use the concept of overloading to have function in your program by the same name but with different types of parameters. All right. So I hope you would have understood this well. If you haven't understood this well, please message me, comment me, or email me. And thank you for giving your time. Take care. Bye bye. Stay safe.
If you are new to the channel, please subscribe it. Also press the bell notification so that you get notification as soon as I release a new video. Share and like the video.